Jai Jinendra. Welcome to Adults Class 2 Practical Applications of Jainism. Let's start with the No Karma mantra. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayaryanam, Namo Ujayanam, Namo Loe Sabasaranam. Yeso Panchajanam Karo Sarvapavatanasam, Nanancha Savesim, Paranam Namo. Who remembers where the word Jain comes from? Genus. And who remembers what the word Jina means? The word Jina means conqueror. And what are we trying to conquer? That's right. Who are our enemies? Our enemies are the Kashayas. What are the Kashayas? Krodh, Man, Maya, and Lo. That is anger, ego, deceit, and greed. Right? So, let's identify the strategy that the enemy is using to attack us. That is, what vectors are they using to enter our life? Can I have one? This one? Hey Kunal, we're filling out this worksheet here, yes. And I can describe it. It's very easy for you to create one at home. The worksheet is called Identifying Enemies, and across the top we have 4 columns, or across the left side we have 4 plus 5, 9 rows. The rows are labeled anger, ego, deceit, and greed. Those of course are 4 Kashayas. And the next rows are labeled violence, lying, stealing, non-celibacy, and attachment. These, of course, are the vows that we take. These are the enemies we're trying to fight, right? As Jains, right? And by identifying them, we can help fight. That is, we are trying to create a map of the battlefield upon which we fight by filling out this chart, right? And so the rows at the top are labeled sources. That are, what are the sources of these things here on the left? What is the source of greed in your life? The second column is labeled reactions. How do I react when this kind of thing happens? The third column is labeled how it affects me. Well, how does it affect me? How does this, for example, greed affect me? And the fourth column is labeled how it affects others. So it would be very easy for you to create on a piece of paper at home and follow along. So for example, a source of greed in my life is when I want to have second helping for dinner, right? I didn't get enough of the first time, or it's really good and I don't really need it for health or anything like that. I just want it for my tongue, right? That is a source of greed in my life. How do I react? Well, I react when it occurs. I react by wanting it and suffering if there's not enough, right? Have 2 meals instead of 1 meal, right? Well, how does it affect me? Well, first of all, it binds karma to my soul, right? So that could be one. That should be, maybe I'll put it in there next time we do this. It should be a bullet point in every row. It binds karma to my soul. That's how it affects me, right? And how does it affect others? Well, maybe somebody else doesn't get enough. Maybe it usually probably binds karma to other people's souls based on interactions that we have. For example, anger, of course. That will cause other people to get angry and bind things to their soul. Hi, come on in. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. So that's how we're filling this up. That's what we're doing today. You may be wondering, well, how is this different from what we do each time? That is, how is this different from our goal sheet and spiritual hygiene sheet, right? Well, this is a bit different because right now we're identifying our enemies. Those, when we set goals, we presuppose we have all this knowledge. And this was the epiphany that I had that led me to want to do this today. Because when we identify our goals, we say, oh, I want to be less angry, and here's how I'm going to do it. But unless we know where those things are in our life, know those pain points, we won't be successful in those goals. So this is a precursor to that sheet. That is the information we find here, we'll use when we fill out that goals and spiritual hygiene sheet. Thanks for everybody just joining us online. We are working on this worksheet. It should be really easy for you to create at home, and I'll put it up online later this week too. We're identifying our enemies. We're identifying the sources, reactions, how it affects me and how it affects others to anger, ego, deceit, greed, which of course are the four kashayas, and violence, lying, stealing, non-celibacy, and attachment. That is, in the goal sheet, we are wondering how to respond to these. These are just the identification. We're just looking at, we're not, directing our troops to go to different places like a goal might be. We're just making a map of the battlefield so we have good information for the battle that's to come. So, this stuff could inform when we have spiritual goals on the goal sheet. It could inform that. It could even inform when we have professional goals. Maybe anger is getting in the way of our professional life, right? It could inform the goals we have there. So questions or comments about this sheet, or how we're going to use this sheet, or how it's different from the spiritual hygiene and goal sheet that we normally do?
I think it's very well informed here is, we normally, like you mentioned, we jump to the conclusion. This pretty much, first identify what is the problem.
Right.
Right?
And that's what I realized, we didn't talk about that at all, right?
Yeah.
We just talked about, how do I improve my life? Well, let's talk about where's my life going wrong, right? And so it might sound funny that it presupposes that, so why are we doing this? But actually it's a non-trivial question. It's very hard for us to look at our life and determine where it's going wrong because it hurts. It's not easy to do. You may want to even just, I won't be upset if you take this, if you write it down and you throw it away afterward because maybe you don't want anybody finding this, or maybe you don't want some people, looking at it or things like that, because, it hurts if I might try to identify where these things occur in my life. But I didn't tell you it was going to be easy. I only told you it was going to be the truth. And you can't get any more real or raw than this.
So, just one thing I notice is all these things I'm able to limit if I limit the number of people in my life actually.
Sure, because the
yes,
number of
because-
people and
yeah.
interactions you have
Yes,
are
yes,
causing
yes.
these things.
Yeah.
Because the moment I get into a lot of people, anger is there, ego is boosted like crazy. Because I want
Right.
attention of everyone. Everyone should treat me nicely. So then I start lying. Then I start this. So I noticed that if I limit it, and which I'm doing now, I'm not spread it everywhere. Just limited people, and as we were talking mindfulness, that okay, these are the people I want to talk about
Uh-huh.
or talk to, and
Uh-huh.
not to just go and mingle with them. So I noticed that all these things gone down, especially anger, ego, greed to prove myself, that I'm better, because in society it's all about what I have than what I am.
Right.
So I noticed that the moment I limited people and socialization, my half of the things are gone, 50% gone.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
an amazing
Yeah.
epiphany, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad you had that and shared that.
But would it not be ideal that despite the stimulus, if we are still able to kind of continue on the path? I'm just saying, this is more like an escapism.
So the question is that wrong? Because it's escapism. Well, I disagree. I think it's great that if you've identified what those sources are and you're trying to limit it, well, I don't think that's escapism. Yeah, I'm trying to escape the binding of karma to my soul. So if that's what you call escapism, then sure, that's fine. But with the connotation of is it bad? Well, should I keep soldiering on anyway because it's cheating by limiting my interactions with other people? No, I don't think so.
Let's say you have to interact and you have expectations from other people. Is it wrong to have those expectations? Because once they don't meet that expectation, that's when I get angry.
Right. Yes. It is wrong because first you've identified that as a cause of your anger, and we want to limit that. And that is the only kind of way to limit that is to not have those expectations of other people. And so that would be great if you could reduce your expectations of other people and therefore limit your anger. Then your life would be better.
So just don't care about what others do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't want to try to let others affect us, right? So forcefully, and so the less you care about what others do, if you've identified that as a source of anger, ego, deceit, and greed, like we have here, then that would be great if you could limit you can't limit your interaction, so reduce your expectations. That leads to these negative emotions and negative behaviors.
And also one more thing I would like to share is this is what I used to do. In India, you know that, right? Parents tell a kid, or we tell someone else. If he doesn't follow, we start fighting and this and that. But after coming to America and after staying some years, I noticed that even the parent is saying their kid, they just say it nicely. You follow it. If you don't follow it, you are going to see the cost of it. So they don't force it. They don't take it crazy the way we do it. So I noticed that thing. So if you say, even if you have expectation, you pass it on, and then they don't do it, then you should not get affected. Let them do what they want. So that's what I feel like.
I
it's a
remember
better way.
the start of the class when I had come in. This was the topic wherein about the expectation. I remember something we were discussing about that. We mentioned that just changed my perspective. I just want to tell you that your daughter was there when she came at the end of the class, and we were talking about how you should look at anybody as a soul. And that's when you said she's also in soul, when you look.
Right.
And that's when the whole perspective changed towards my kids. When I see that I expect something from my kids, I just say, okay, he's a soul or she's a soul, and we are just there to guide. If they are doing certain things, they should eventually know the consequences, and they have that firm base at the end. When what we are doing, they do watch us. So every time when I look at even my kids or anybody, I just look at them as a soul. They bind their karmas on their own, and we don't have to just control and say, oh, I do expect this from you, or I do. I feel that has changed a lot.
That's great. So thank you for sharing that. That's a perfect example of you know the truth, and the truth has made your life better. That's what this class is all about. Applying Jain principles to your life, which is the truth, to make the quality of your life better. And so that's a great example right there. And so now is a good time to renew my challenge. It's been a while since we renewed our anger challenge. That is, all anger is directed at the self. And I challenge you to find a scenario where when you get angry, it's not directed at yourself. And we know that's true because the cause of anger is the mismatch between expectation and reality. And you can't change reality. You can only change your expectation, right? So I renew my challenge to you. Can anybody come up with a scenario where you get angry and it's not directed at yourself?
I think I'll vote for Sheeta.
She makes you angry and you get angry. So maybe I should also hard code in here, sources of anger, it's only yourself, right? It's never anybody else.
Yes.
But if you take a more shallow, a less deep view of it, you might say, oh, well, when my children misbehave, it causes me anger. And you might write that down. And hopefully you come to the realization that, wait, they're children. They're going to misbehave. If I get angry, it's my fault. I'm angry at myself because I didn't expect them to misbehave.
I'll ask you a question. So from anger, right? work, right? People who have to manage people, their responsibilities, and you tell them the second kid do it over and over, it's due at this time, and they don't deliver. Your management is going to be upset at you because you didn't manage your employees. So what do you do in that case? After you reminded them, the second kid,
Sure.
it's due on Monday at this time. You told them on Friday it's due on this time, etc. You asked them to work the weekend. They're not available. You said okay. You don't get anger. You let them have the weekend, and they don't deliver. What are you going to do in that case?
Yeah, I mean, certainly there are management styles where you don't have to get angry, right? What does anger have to do with the situation, right? We could list examples of things to do. You know, make the consequences more, put them on a performance improvement program, do the work yourself because that's your job as a boss. If somebody's slacking off, put a lot of social pressure on them. But where does anger ever enter into the picture? It doesn't have to.
Well, because your performance is dinged.
Sure, yeah, you know that. When somebody on your team doesn't perform, you get the blame, and you're going to be yelled at by your boss. Absolutely. But where does anger enter into the situation?
I'm going to lose my job.
Right, yeah, that might happen. And then that is the result of your karma, right? It's time to look at the truth, right? You're still trying to deflect responsibility away from yourself. But we all only reap the consequences of our own karma, right? It may not be your fault that this person misbehaved, but it might be your karma that causes you to lose your job.
Is it worth figuring out why they're meeting or not meeting your expectation? Like if he assigns something to somebody, is it worth finding out why that person can't get it done on time?
Absolutely.
And then maybe provide the resources they need.
Yeah, absolutely. But anger doesn't have to enter into the picture.
It's like what he said. None of this is in your control, right? If the karma's, when it has its result, that's what's going to happen, right?
Right.
So, like, even if, like, he has some karma, which, as a result, that person just is not going to do it. So nothing you can do is going to change that. So
No,
have to
but
just
you
accept
can
that.
control your future karmas, right? So you don't get
Yeah. So
in the future
right.
you don't get the karma.
That's right. But when it gives its result, you can get angry and be like, oh, like I blame you for doing this, right? Because like I blame you for not doing your job, and so I'm going to lose my job, right?
Right.
Or you can take it as, well, this is because I did something bad previously, and this has happened to me, and so I just have to accept that. And getting angry is just going to cause more pain later. Yeah.
Right. And that's why this column is reactions, right? Because when we react, we double or triple the amount of karma that is coming to fruition based on our reactions. If we get angry if we lose our job and we get angry at it, well, we had the ability to control whether we got angry or not. We might not have had the ability to control whether we lost our job because that karma is coming to fruition. But by reacting in a certain way, well, now you've promised yourself even more pain in the future.
So I have a question about greed.
Yes.
In the same situation, wherein you are supposed to deliver something on time, and you as a manager, you're not able to make that happen because your colleagues are not following the deadlines what they are supposed to be. But in that situation, if you try to understand it beforehand and delegate that work without knowing the other person, is that something related to greed, that you want to achieve something, but that person is not giving you what you were supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a solution to reach out to someone where I got an opportunity to do that, but that person is completely unaware, like wherein I'm just trying to find a solution for my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that is greed, or it's just for the team's success, or it's just for something?
You certainly can be greedy for professional accomplishments, right? And that greed can drive you to overwork others, to not take into account what the team is doing, to cause violence, mental or speech, or not physical, mental or speech violence to others. And that could be a result of your greed. Yes. So it's possible. I don't know in the specific situation you're describing because we don't know the intentions from everybody, but it is possible to be greedy for professional accomplishments. So that is a great lens through which to look at it. Like, oh, am I causing violence to my team because I'm greedy for success at work?
Right.
That's a very possible situation.
Another example is, one of the employees not performing, and even given after enough reminders, training, we let it go, right? Now again, knowing back my mind that she's a single mom or family needs help, she's not performing and I have to let somebody go.
Right.
Is that bad karma?
So, is it bad karma to let somebody go? Is it bad karma to fire somebody?
Aren't you causing
So
them?
let
Isn't that
me make it a
his
little
though?
deep.
Mhm.
So I hired this lady from Gujarat overseas, right? Lot of talks, no performance. The dad goes into heart cardiac arrest. Okay, February, March. She texted me, oh, I can't work. I'm taking care of the family. No problem. March comes along, same thing. I'm taking care of the parent. No problem. April comes along. Oh, you haven't reimbursed me for all the time. Like wondering, for last 3 months you want me to reimburse you that you have not performed.
Right.
And then she starts writing me all this. So I start ignoring. I put into archive.
Right.
One day I thought, you know what? And then she talks about. So I listen to a lot of online promotions, and one of the
Mhm.
maths have said, if you want to help somebody, whatever it is, help them for my greater good, right? So I Zelda the money, whatever. And I'm not asking for a thank you, but I was wondering am I doing the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
By sending her the money, did I do the right thing? Maybe I did for me. I'm not worrying about her. But by letting her go, right? I just want no bondages going forward.
Right.
Whatever I did, whatever karma I did. But I just want to break that chain of karma of her having in my life. That's it.
Right. So, a very interesting scenario. So, I can certainly say that the intention with which you fire somebody matters. If you fire them capriciously and for no reason, certainly you will bind a lot of karma to your soul because then you're acting with ego, you're acting with violence, things like that. If you've given somebody warnings, if you're following the company procedure and they're costing you a bunch of money and then they're not making in and it's hurting the company, then that's certainly less karma, right? You've given people chances, and they've not taken those chances or they haven't performed. Then you're not working under your ego, or you're not working under violence or something like that. In fact, you've given them many chances, and so you certainly have less karma. And so in your scenario, you have bound less karma by giving the money and allowing these exceptions and doing these allowances, and then it didn't work out, and then you let her go. You've certainly bound a lot less karma than doing it a different way.
But you still cause her harm when you let her go, right? So you can't avoid it entirely.
Right,
It's just
right,
like,
right.
Can you reduce it? That's
Yeah.
all.
Right.
It's when you work with people, like he said, you're going to bind karma.
Exactly. Right.
But if he wouldn't have paid her, then he would have had more bad karma, you think?
Certainly, yeah, because he's
But it
trying
is
to
not right
he's trying to
to do
soften the
that.
violence. He's trying to soften the violence that he's doing, right?
My problem
But
is
it was not rightfully owed to her.
I think this new
When I give money to a beggar on the street, it's not rightfully owed to them.
So from that,
So he was just
I'm
donating
just
and-
thinking about
yeah.
Oh, okay.
employer-employee relationship.
Okay, sure, yeah.
my
Yeah,
issue
yeah.
was it was more of her looking for entitlement. Like
Right.
no, you did not perform anything. On top of that, I gave you training. I spent money on the training, and instead of even saying thank you, which again now attending to your classes, I don't want that thank you. No, let me stop that karma right there.
Right.
Yeah. So
Help turns into somebody taking advantage of him.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you know what?
No, but here the thing is, right, knowing now Jainism, like the ideal thing to do is what you did actually, that okay, going forward I don't think this is going to work out.
Exactly.
So let me close the account over here. You were financially not having any issue when she was
Exactly.
a employee, so she was dependent on you.
Right.
So you said, okay, this is what your money, please take care of your family, but it won't work out for us, and you close it nicely and safely. That is all the best you can do, you know. Instead of, because she's already going through her parents' problem, financial problem, and then she will curse you, you know. This is what
Again,
it
I
is, you
really
know.
don't care who curses me or not.
Okay.
Yeah, in my line
So
of business,
it's cute,
Yeah.
yeah.
you can't make everybody happy.
Okay.
So, so that brings up a great point that we might want to try to generalize. When we're dealing with difficult situations in our life, we wonder what the right path is, right? And the right path is never, well, how can I be absolved of blame? You're always going to bind karma just by living. It's about how can I reduce the karma that attaches to my soul. And maybe I can do it by giving second chances. Maybe I can do it by giving charity, even though people are not owed any charity. Maybe I can reduce the karma that binds to my soul by making sure I'm not acting in one of these ways. I might have to do bad things. I might have to kill a poisonous snake in my yard. But if I do it not in anger, that is much, much less karma bound to my soul than if I do it with anger, right? I might have to protect my children by killing a poisonous snake in my yard. Maybe if I'm enlightened and I realize I don't have to cut off a branch of a mango tree to get the mango and I can wait till it falls to the ground, maybe I can try to capture a snake in my yard. Maybe I can try to call somebody to get a snake in my yard, humanely. Maybe I can do a lot of different things. And as you start thinking, you'll realize, I should have done that a different way, because in hindsight is always 20/20, right? But then, as you reflect on your life, when the opportunity does come up, you'll do things differently. And in that way, you'll minimize, going forward, the amount of karma that binds to your soul. And another thing that brings up is, when you fill this out, you might be like, it's not that big a deal, these things that I'm going through. And I know that, because I know you're all good people. Okay, these will be not that big of things compared to other people. Like I was talking about getting seconds at dinner as a way I can combat greed, right? That's normally not what people think about being greedy, right? But you're all good people, so these will necessarily be very small things, you know? And the corollary to that is, you probably think these definitions are much more narrow than they are. Remember, stealing is not just taking something that isn't yours. It's taking something that isn't freely given to you. So the epiphany that I had is picking money off the ground is stealing, right? Remember, celibacy is not just not having sex with someone other than your spouse. It's about not being desirous of that, right? It's about not looking at pornography or romance novels, right? Good people, the steps that we need to take are much smaller and much finer than, not sleeping with somebody that's not your spouse. Remember, attachment is not just money and being greedy and all that and possessions and a house, right? It's about, you're attached to your way of life, you're attached to doing things a certain way, you're attached to having tea at 12 o'clock or whatever, you know? So these definitions are much bigger than you probably think.
That's good. Each one we can spend hours and hours talking about.
We have though, haven't we?
Right.
We've had whole classes on each of these subjects, yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to share anything? Like I said, you don't have to if you don't want to, because this is not easy.
When we lie to avoid conflict or to avoid worry for the other person, how bad is that?
Not a lie, actually. So it's not a lie if somebody walks up to you and says, "Where's that roach? I need to kill it," and you direct them away from where the roach is. It's not a lie. You are not lying, because you're minimizing violence. And that's why it's important to understand what Jainism teaches as anger, ego, deceit, greed, violence, lying, stealing, non-celibacy, and attachment.
So I have one question. This ego, right? So whenever I do charity or seva, that's my problem is my ego get boosted actually.
Right.
So how should I do it and what should I do it about it? Because this is a normal thing which get boosted.
That's a very common question that we have because you're a good person. I donate to the Jane Center because it makes me feel good. Is that wrong? And I'm going to tell you the answer. No, it's not wrong. You should get over it and do it anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, you're feeling good. Great. You should still do it. Even though it makes you feel good to do it, you should still do it. Okay? If you do charity, if you help people, if you volunteer, oh, I'm just doing it because it makes me feel good and I want to work on my soul. Yeah, that's a great reason to do it.
That's a good reason.
It makes you feel good. We want to make sure that moving along the spiritual path feels good. And that's what you want from your life. You want to be making spiritual progress feel great. So you keep doing more of it.
I think if you're doing it with the intention of getting recognition, then that's the wrong thing. Right?
Absolutely.
That's what we
Having
talked
a
about.
name on the book.
Yeah, anonymous donations.
Yeah. Make it anonymous and make it feel good inside and not because others are praising you for it. Very good point.
Where does the upper egress sit in here?
Attachment at the bottom.
Attachment.
Yep.
So I remember back in the days, you gave an example of the closet that looks like Banana Republic, like only 5 shirts, 5 pants.
Right.
Yeah, so I've been practicing for a very long time and I've introduced that to so many people and they are all loving it. So, I once in a quarter I go in and I remove whatever I've not wore,
Right.
pile it up, donate it, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's becoming nicer, smaller and smaller and smaller. And the good part is now I don't have to look for any deals because I don't need it.
Right.
Uh,
And that's another great way that Jainism can improve the quality of your life right now, not in the future,
Exactly.
not I'm working on my soul and I can't see my soul and all that. Let's say you don't believe in Jainism. Let's say you don't believe you're a soul. Let's say you think that when you die, nothing happens. Okay? Well, filling this sheet out will help your life right now. Okay? I'm not promising you, in your next life it's going to be better. It will help your life right now to do this.
So one question to what you are doing. Actually, I have been thinking about it. Do you also buy quarterly then, or just?
No. I first
you
of all
buy
I
like a
don't
once a
buy if I can't donate. And now I'm getting a little better is I don't want to buy if I don't need it, but I can donate what I don't need it.
And you have like only limited clothes or like?
Limited clothes.
Mm.
So again, some people see me wearing the same clothes and I don't mind.
No. I have been thinking actually, and I have been doing it, but this is what I have been thinking. Good point.
You just need to take the lead.
I just wanted to hear someone is doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it motivates actually.
Yeah, so this jeans I forgot it. We went to Hawaii last year and I couldn't find it. I found it. I've been wearing for like 5 days now.
That's
Love
good.
it.
And that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all supporting each other. It's impossible to do this alone.
Right.
There's so many obstacles. There's so many people that want to enslave your mind. There's so many distractions. It's impossible to do this alone. We are here to support each other. If we just come every week, even if you throw this away, even if you don't fill this out, it's good to think about it because you know that it's there. And it reminds you that, hey, there's something more to this life than what I've been doing. There's something bigger, and I need to remember to keep my eye on the bigger picture.
And in India, we used to do that because we used to wash clothes every day. Over here, we do it like once in a week, so it's kind of piles up. But that's what I thought. Even washing daily, it helps a lot to reduce the work on the weekend and also less clothes, right?
Right.
Because otherwise we need more clothes because we
One more thing you will come across is once you're going through, then you'll realize, which I did, is you make a lot of money, right? But you can't enjoy. So that will come into that pain like, I make a lot of money, but I'm wearing the same clothes. So I detached that money is just a resource.
Money
You can
is
buy
just a
whatever or
resource.
do whatever you want. right? You don't have to spend on you. So,
So tell me about that more. Money is just a resource. What does that mean?
so what I mean is, I have this, but I also have control of not to spend it where it can influence me to do
For the
certain
luxury items.
things, right? So I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, we are a partner, he bought me a Rolex. When he bought me, I was so attached to it. Now, again, over time, I am not attached to it, so I'll keep it anywhere. It is just a watch.
Right.
But when it came in my life, oh wow, right? So certain things. So I think money is just a commodity or a resource.
Right.
It should not define me, or should not help me define somebody else.
Mhm.
Like if he's rich or resourceful, that's the only reason I want to attach with somebody.
Right. I like that. So it's like money is just a number that goes up and down, or it's just a way that I can use money to do things that I want, not necessarily having money for money's sake.
And
like
this gives you amazing that I can buy whatever I want. But if I'm not buying it, that means I'm a winner, kind of in my mind.
Right.
And sometimes money brings you a big sadness. Like there is an example, my mom, she had my grandma's earrings, and she somehow kept it somewhere, and she thought there were laborers coming in the house, so they might have stolen. And it took 2 months, but the pain she went through, and people around her, like even I felt, I'm here, she's there, but I felt so bad that she's in pain because she lost that thing. We all suffered for 2 months, and then she got it back. But then I was thinking, like the way we buy gold, diamond, to buy it, you're saving every day $2, $5, or whatever. Like you say, you will think, oh, should I buy this dress? No, I want to save that money to buy gold. But when it gets lost, it's a huge chunk of money. It's suddenly gone. But when you wear it, it doesn't give you that much happiness. But when you lose it, it gives you like tremendous sadness.
Right.
So is it really worth it? And from like things like this happening, then I realized it's better not to. And the share market, like we save and put it in share market. It's the money is there, but it's just used by some other companies, which we are not utilizing for ourselves. We are putting it somewhere. Like whatever you save, you're putting it some companies or some land which you are not using it.
Yeah.
But it's just that in your mindset that I have that money, but you're not even using it. So it's just extra burden you're adding to yourself. Instead, enjoy what you have in limited. Like of course I don't do it much, but we can think like that, and it helps us somewhere, I guess.
I always do that. Whenever I lose something, I'm always like, somebody stole this. Nobody's ever stealing it.
Nobody
Stolen
wants it.
They've always just like, I've just lost it, and then I find it later. But that's a great point, is that we start to realize the lows are lower than the highs are high, right? And so that now you're starting to see the truth about attachments, right?
It's a means to actually impact other lives. I would.
And
But we don't implement that.
No,
We
no, no.
know. Again, I'm talking about myself.
No,
Is
right.
again, I always think that I'm going to impact other people's life, and then this comes. Does he really need it? Maybe I need it more than
No, but as entrepreneurs, you have, in fact, you're empowered to do that.
absolutely. So it works mainly around employees and maybe people that you're working with.
Yeah.
But with
that's
third
that's
party-
might be very limited. Yeah.
So
So what is the right way to use your money besides donation? Because everything else seems like, oh, it's just for attachment. It's just going to cause attachment. So is there, once you have a place to live and close to wear, like, what is the right way to use your money, practically speaking?
Well, I'll tell you all an uncomfortable truth that you're going to get mad at me for, but I'm just going to tell you the truth. All of you can retire right now,
right.
okay? The right use of your money is to further your spiritual progress. And you can retire right now on the money that you have, limit your expenses, and work on your spiritual progress for the rest of your life, and your money won't run out. That is the right use of your money.
So hard to do.
So like investing and all that is causing.
This is gonna cause pain.
Certainly.
And
Certainly.
one more thing with the health issues nowadays,
Mm.
even if you have abundance millions of dollars, you can only eat 2 chapatis or you can only eat this much sabji or you can't even eat like
Right.
cupcake or something like that. And then was like previously it used to be old time that you're earning to eat to fill your tummy. But nowadays, like you can't. In fact, if you have too much money, it's more pain because you can afford everything in the world, but now you cannot eat it because
Right.
of the health. So
Right.
that is another way to look at.
So
That's one of the karma, right? I forgot the name of that karma. There's one karma that you have everything, but you can't enjoy it. I forgot the
It's
name.
probably the obstacle creating karma.
Vedaniya karma, yeah.
So yesterday I was talking to my sister, and now everyone knows Ambani family, and they are like earlier they used to not to be so much going out, and now you see them every day actually.
Media.
So my sister was saying, now I feel so good that she also lives the same like a life like us, always around the family, always looking for people, and only limited they can do. So actually it's only the money which is different between us, but otherwise they are living the same life.
Same
And
problem.
they need the same thing
More
actually.
challenging life because they, for us, we have, not for us, but a poor person,
Yeah.
suppose he has to wake up with the feeling like, oh no, I
He
have to work
needs to do
today,
something.
otherwise in the evening I won't get food. But for them to live
Nothing,
their
yeah.
life, there is no motivation.
No
Like,
motivation.
it is very difficult. Like they live very difficult life. I sometimes feel.
So that over a age, I think we feel like okay, money is important, but not as far as you have money to live properly and help your family in this and that. That's enough. But more than that, it's just.
But you never know how much is that, right?
No, you do. I'm
No,
telling
you
you
do.
right now.
I'm
No,
going to say
your
that.
money is going to last you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
was going to say,
Depends
but
how
don't
much
we
you
also save for health reasons, for healthcare? What if we fall sick? What if we can't earn? What if we can't afford our day-to-day expenses, like for old age? So my dad just the other day he was telling me he's not earned for the last 25 years, but he's very proud that he didn't have to ask for any money from any of his kids. He's self-sufficient. He's like, even though your mom spends so much per month, but I'm still able to, he just felt good about not having to ask for money, because when you live a long life, you need that money. He was able to invest in a seniors apartment, so he doesn't have to go and depend on his kids or live with them when he's not able to be independent. And I'm in healthcare, so I always think from that perspective that you got to be independent and self-sufficient even when you're not able to work.
Well, unfortunately, I have bad news for you. That kind of thinking is based on pride, right? Like I don't need any help from anybody. I made enough money to take care of myself, and that is number 2 on our list: ego, right?
Ego.
And also, when you say, well, I want to have enough money because I want to be able to afford healthcare in my old age, that is an excuse based on fear. We're using fear to rationalize what we want to do anyway. There are a million excuses for me not to retire. I could retire right now. No, I got kids, I gotta pay for their college.
Right.
Then I gotta pay when they're gonna get married. Well, guess what? 3 more steps from that is, well, I need money for when I get old, and I'm gonna need healthcare. It's an excuse, and it's an excuse based on living in fear. And I'm sorry to have to tell you that.
But I'm not saying no to that. But if we won't have enough money for all this thing, then how we can retire? I'm just questioning, because if I'm not going to do, my kids are not going to do for me. So I have to have a money to survive. Say if I'm like I can't just retire. So you are saying once you have enough money for all this thing, then retire, or
Yes, that's
Right.
exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is you have enough money, and what I'm saying to her is she thinks she doesn't have enough money, but it's just an excuse. And the best thing that your money can do for you is to allow you to make spiritual progress. Because guess what? Remember all the stuff we were talking about work? Well, that's all gone. All that karma you're binding is gone once you stop working. What about the things we were talking about with the more I interact with people, the more karma I get? Well, when you retire, that's all gone.
But how do you work on spiritual progress? are you suggesting?
Isolation.
Yeah, that's what.
Sure. Yeah, there's lots of ways to work on spiritual progress, and it's all in this book. It's all in our book. And so the first thing we have to do is open the book. So that's how we work on our spiritual progress.
So, just to share this a small story, I just recently visited India, met Maharajji over there, and he was talking about all the shastra that he was reading, which I didn't understand. I sat down to listen to that. At the end of the pravachan, my aunt told him to just explain me something that I could understand. This was something he explained. When your child is performing anything on the stage, and you go to watch that, among all the performers, you're looking at your child, and you're feeling so good and pride inside that my child is doing that. Similarly, there are so many things. I'm his wife, I'm his mother, I'm so many things you bind to yourself with your identity, thinking they are mine. Similarly, if you start thinking Atma is yours, wherein you start working on it then, and the working process starts when you spend some time reading every day a spiritual book which will take you to that path. Like, that is where you start working on it, when you think it's yours, like the soul is, like something inside you is yours and you have to work on that. So that's what he said, everything around you is going to shred away, this is what is going to stay. So why not start working on that on daily basis? So all your identity is here, like, in your Atma. So
That's beautiful.
that's what just changed that. Many of my family members have taken and vow, saying that daily basis they'll at least read minimum whatever time. That's just working on yourself, and that's where everything gets shredded. Like, when he told me that this sharir, this is mithyatva, wherein you just get rid of it one or the other day, something inside you is not going to go always. So that's where you have to work on.
That's great. And to come back, so we need time to work on spiritual progress, and the more time that we have, the more things we can do, like study, like to do puja, like to do meditation, like to do mindfulness. It's a matter of time, right? And that is what the money buys us.
So, related to money, so when I came to US, my objective was to have a house, settle up, all those things. So now I have been working from almost 20 years. So now I got an opportunity to start the business, and it was very good, profitable, and was looking good, that all I had to do is just consultancy and all. And then me and my wife sat, and I said, do we want to do this for the money, because all is going to come out of the money out of this, and I'm going to get busy, and I'm going to interact with more and this and that. And then we said, no, leave it over here, because all it's going to give us money, nothing else. So we said, okay, leave it over there, let's continue with our job 5 more years, and everything would be fine. So
Right.
we said, no, we don't want to do anything more for the money. We are done, just live a peaceful, easy life. That's all we care about. And then all those things. So yeah, we said no for the business and all. So
That's great. Congratulations.
yeah,
Nice.
we did that.
Questions or comments from our online friends? I will put this up later today, the chart that we worked on, our Identifying Enemies worksheet. I just want to make sure if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. No problem. That's why we do this, so everybody can be a part. Great. Any other questions or comments? This is going to hurt, right? It hurts to think about our life, and it hurts because this is where we're going wrong when we fill it out. And we don't want to be that person, right? When we're goal setting, it's very optimistic by nature. It's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to fix my life, right? And we all feel good, right? But this hour, when we're trying to fill this out, it doesn't feel good. If I write down, hey, I get angry when my kids misbehave, it's hard for me to write that down because that's not the person that I want to be. It's easy for me to say that in here, but I know when my kids misbehave out in the real world, like, I'm gonna get angry, right? And so it's hard to fill this out, and it should be hard, because most of us have not examined our life that well or that closely. But if we don't have an accurate depiction of the battlefield, we'll never be able to conquer our enemies. Hey, thank you so much for your time this week. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.